Hey, what's going on, everyone? My name's Joe. Welcome back to another episode of The Third Floor. Today, I'll be taking you all through a breakdown of the TV series Andor. So, for those of you who don't know, Andor is a TV show based in the Star Wars universe, and it is a precursor for the movie Rogue One. Now, in this show, it basically follows a person named Cassian Andor, a small-time criminal who's kind of selfish, mostly only concerned about himself, and it shows his emotional journey to leaving that path and becoming a full-blown rebel, which is how we find him in Rogue One. That's as far as I'm going to go into the breakdown, because I know most of you watching this episode have already seen the show, but instead, I'm going to jump into where I know you guys want me to start. So I'm going to say, hey everyone, I really enjoyed this show. It was great. And you guys are going to yell at me saying, whoa, Joe, this show had such a slow start. Why did you enjoy it? And here's what I have to say to all you guys. So, admittedly, the show did have a slow start. But here's what I'm going to tell you guys. If this show was an action adventure show, like most Star Wars movies and other media are, then I would agree with you that this series had a very slow start and it did not do any justice to the characters or the show in itself. But, my dear friends, this show is no ordinary action adventure journey story. It is, in fact, an espionage TV series, or like a spy thriller, if you would rather call it that. So when you look into the genre that the TV series is, I think your opinion might start to change on the opening of the show. So, because this is a TV espionage thriller type thing, the slow start is purposeful. It's intentional. It builds character, it builds dialogue. It introduces you to the people, but it also introduces tension beautifully. Now, most espionage or spy films and TV shows, they need that tension, that underlying tension, the fear of getting caught, or the tension that makes it necessary to have spies and do such things to make it make sense. Like, you're not going to have a movie about spies with two countries that are in a happy, peaceful time. It just wouldn't make any sense. So that slow start that you guys hate, or some of you hate, was really just beautiful storytelling, setting the scene and priming us to make their climax that much more impactful. So that's what I'm going to say to you guys. I know a lot of you guys think it's just filler for filler's sake, and they're just trying to stretch out the series, but I disagree. I think it's building towards something, which, of course, we will go over. Excuse me. So if we can look past the slow start, because I know most of you guys won't like that part, and then move into the middle part of the show, or the prison section. So Andor gets arrested for doing nothing, basically, evil empire, and he gets put in jail for 6 years. Now, luckily for us in the show, he does not remain there for 6 years, but these few episodes encompass his life in prison, and I gotta say, these are absolutely beautifully done. This might be my favorite part of the show, and that's saying something, because I, if you can't tell, loved this show. Andy Serkis, an actor in this series, blew my mind. He performed so well. What emotion, what, beautiful, beautiful character development. And he gets my MVP for actor of the series. He takes the cake, the best actor in the series. So congratulations, Mr. Andy Serkis. You earned the Third Floor's MVP. I'll be shipping you your certificate of participation in the mail. And just, yeah, it was amazing. He had the best lines, so he had the best writing done for him. He had the best delivery. He had me bought in hook, line, and sinker. I loved his performance. And I can say that for the majority of the cast in these prison episodes. It starts off with Andor in prison and him, getting the ropes about him, seeing how prison works. And then it ends in an episode called One Way Out. And it is some of the best Star Wars I've ever seen in my life. In this episode, it really hammers home one of the show's overarching messages, which is the kind of the classic tale of there are more of us than there are of them. So the many good against the few evil, the good should prevail if there's more than the evil. And it shows people banding together, caring for each other, defending each other, and they're mostly just strangers. And it's so palpable. Like, I could feel that emotion and that desire to be that togetherness, that I wanted a part of it. Like, I was like so emotional. I felt so connected to the characters. I wanted to be a part of them. I wanted to be in their collective, in their crew. And I think that's just beautiful writing. Like, if you can get people to buy in to a space prison and connecting to the space prisoners in this fantasy land, my God, you're doing something right. So it was beautifully done. I loved the dialogue. I loved the emotional development of all the characters, either like main and background characters were handled beautifully. And it also introduced something that I love, and I know a lot of the other people on the third floor love, which is consequences. Now, a lot of people get a little sick of Marvel because they have a lot of difficult tasks that their heroes or protagonists need to accomplish, but they have hardly any consequences if they should fail, or they rarely carry out these consequences and they find like a loophole way around it. In this episode, in the prison, One Way Out, they introduced those consequences, and we watched the consequences, and it hurt. And that's what it's supposed to feel like. One thing that this show really got right was showing the risk and the cost of rebellion. It wasn't some nice, easy decision. We're just going to hop out there, do what we want to do. No, people suffered. And obviously, while I'm not the type of person who's like, ooh, people suffering, I love it. It's just like, it added to the story and the emotion and the sacrifice. It was beautiful. So that's one of my favorite episodes, One Way Out. But after we leave the prison, we get into the end of the show, the final 3 episodes, I believe. And I got to say, they stick the landing of this show. So for those of you who are complaining about pacing at the beginning of the show, they keep that tempo high even after they leave the prison. They just keep all that energy. They keep the stakes. They keep ramping up the consequences, and it keeps that energy high. So those of you who are finding it a hard time to buy in early should have been well and truly enjoying yourself by the end. And in this portion, they really just hammered home that feeling of togetherness. Like the few versus the many, like I said, they make you buy into the rebellion. Now, why is that important? Because it's a case of show, don't tell. Like, we've always been told the rebellion's like a close-knit group of people. They're selfless, they're courageous, and we never really saw the reasons why they're going to join. And this show gave us their reasons. It showed us people, their real-life, everyday situations of why they walked into the rebellion and took all that risk. Because, like I said, it also proves that they're brave. They're willing to sacrifice their comfy, mediocre lives in the Empire and go out and risk themselves and their family members to make a difference for the rest of the galaxy. So after this show, if you watch this show and go watch the original trilogy, I think you'll feel even more invested in the Rebel Alliance than you did when you first saw the series, if that's possible, but that's just my opinion. So that kind of leads me into my next section, which I have some people I want to call out. So I got some tea I want to drop for the audience. It kind of goes along with the group of people that thought the show was a slow start. I saw a lot of your comments and everything saying how it's such a slow start and it's going to be another Kenobi and it's boring. I get it. But it went further. And it takes me to a Star Wars YouTuber that I really respect and I love his content. I think he's a great person. He does great stuff for the community. So please don't misconstrue this as being like negativity at him. It's just I have a disagreement with one of his opinions and I'd like to, air it. So all respect, but Star Wars Theory, just a little old biggest Star Wars YouTuber on the planet. He was doing a breakdown on one of those earlier or middle episodes of the series. And he was making comments about, how the show kind of started slow. But he also went on to say he thought we were wasting an opportunity because, as I've said, this show is based in the time frame of the Empire, or the time period of the Empire, where the original trilogy was also aired. And he's saying we were wasting opportunity not bringing back like the Emperor and Darth Vader or Han Solo or any of these original trilogy characters to help boost the ratings of this show. And I wholeheartedly disagree. Like I could not disagree more at that point. And here's why. So when we watched the original trilogy, we were seeing our first look at the Empire and, their evil habits, if you will. But in this instance, in the original trilogy, we had a very small glimpse at the entire galaxy. Like we were looking at this evil organization through the lens of two main antagonists, Darth Vader and the Emperor. Now, we didn't get a whole lot of looks into the functioning of the Empire past those two figureheads. So our knowledge of the Empire is very limited. We didn't fear the Empire. We feared Darth Vader and the Emperor. The Empire was just like their tools that they used, and we only feared them because they were there. They were the figureheads behind these goofy stormtroopers and everything else. But also the same thing can be said about the heroes. We saw them struggle, Luke and Leia and Han, and we saw their opinions on the Empire and what they went through. But again, very narrow view of things. Just a few small group of people that we got to saw their struggle. Now we go to Andor. We don't have these super powerful, super important people in the show. We just get everyday normal people. We get to watch them struggle. We get to watch them suffer and fight and scratch and claw. And this, to me, is the most simple essence of Star Wars. It's good versus evil. It's making a stand, doing what's right, and helping those around you. And that's what we got to see. So because we didn't have the Emperor and Darth Vader, we got to see the cruelty that even the smallest member, the least important members of the Empire, could inflict on the citizens around them. Like we got to see torture and abduction and espionage and betrayal. We got to see how little control these citizens had over their own lives. Like what they were going to eat for dinner, what line of work they were in, all these small details that we take for granted, they had taken away from them, because that's what the Empire was about. They want control. And because we were able to take a deeper look into the Empire, we finally got to see this. We finally got to see why people were so sick of the Empire. We finally got to see why people were so afraid of it, because they were able to do horrible, dastardly things, just like the Emperor and Darth Vader. And on the flip side, we got to see what the heroes of the rebellion looked like. We got to see why they rebelled. We got to see how nervous they were before they rebelled, or what courage it took for them to get to that point and rebel. We got to get to know them better, so we could appreciate their sacrifice. We could appreciate all the things they were going to grow into, all these great deeds they would do for the galaxy. And if we included Darth Vader, the Emperor, Luke, and all these characters, we would have been taken back to that old way of looking at things. We wouldn't have gotten to see this in-depth glimpse at what society was like. We would have been stuck with all these old characters that we've seen hundreds of times. So my response to Star Wars theory and a lot of the fans out there is, aren't you, not sick of, that's not the right word, but aren't you glad that they're doing something different? They're giving us a new way to look at something old that we love very much. Like, I thought this was so creative. We got a chance to look at something that we've known for decades and see it like it was brand new. That's something I think can't be undervalued. Getting a chance to experience what we love like it's the first time. And that's what I felt watching this. We got to see the Empire for real this time. Not just the glimpses that we got to see through the Emperor and Darth Vader. We got to see what the Empire was truly like. And that was fantastic. So that's what I would say to all those people. Like, did you really want them to put this nostalgia boost in there just to take us further away from what Star Wars is truly about and put us closer towards the Disneyfied version of Star Wars? Like, that's just my opinion. I would love to hear Star Wars Theory's opinion. If he wants to respond to our channel, at the third floor, please. I would love to have a dialogue with you. And like I said, this is all respect. This is not negativity towards anyone. I'm not like, how dare you have these opinions? It's just, I don't know, it's my response, my thoughts. So looking past that, there's, of course, something that I do have to say. It looks like, spoilers ahead, so please turn off the pauses if you haven't finished the show. They will be making a second season of Andor. That's what it looks like. And while I absolutely love this show, 10 out of 10, I think they're going to be hard pressed to find the same lightning in a bottle for the second season than they just found for this one. Like, expectations for this show were, like I said, low for most people, and they exceeded them greatly. I've already seen a few comments in videos, people saying how much they liked them or how much they liked the series, and now they're gonna have to remake this series with so much higher expectations and still try to find that palpable emotion. Find that growth, find those consequences, find the same essence, and try to recreate it for a second season, and that's hard. Like, I'm very concerned that they're going to tarnish what they already did. But again, I loved this so much that I'd be lying through my teeth if I said I didn't want to see more. So do with that information what you will. I don't know if it's going to be positively received or negatively. But, I mean, hey, who knows? I came in negative for this first season, and I was pleasantly surprised. So maybe second season will be the same thing. Just got to keep that positive outlook out there. Last but not least, where does this show rank in the hierarchy of the other Star Wars shows released? This is the top one for me. I know you guys probably saw that coming. This is the best Star Wars show that I've seen. You can put this in my S tier for ranking the shows, kind of next to like the Clone Wars and everything. But this show is what all other Star Wars shows should strive to emulate. The same emotion, the same balance of, they had a little bit of comedy, but it was true Star Wars. That's all I can say. This was what Star Wars is about. And I loved it. Loved it, loved it. So that's basically all I got. I'm not going to bore you guys with too much more because you're probably sick of my voice. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. Do you guys agree with what I'm saying? Do you disagree? Is Star Wars theory right? Would Darth Vader and the Emperor have boosted this show to your S tier or wherever you'd place it? Let me know. Again, if you liked the video, please leave a like. And please consider subscribing if you want to see more of our videos in the future. Thanks, guys, so much. Catch you on the next one. Peace.